Greetings and salutations. I don't know, every time I try to record, it's always nighttime in the game. But I got some of my settings worked out on OBS. I figured out how to move it over to ultra wide, and I got the mic set up. I had purchased a new mic once I got back to the States, and I forgot to update it in OBS. But anyways, back to the content of the video. During this video, I'm going to discuss really three topics, and the first one is um, we're going to just go right into the veterancy tree versus doctrine on the Shieldmaidens. And when you spend this amount of time grinding through these veterancies, like this is actually a pretty good doctrine in the tree. You know, the increase slash 50, decrease fit by 50 for all those different weapon types. That's a good doctrine, but it's a blue, but and then you get to your epic and a 5% cooldown on your attack. That's garbage. And this is why it's garbage, is because doctrines should not be um, the same as veterancy. And when you get into the unit tree and you look at the veterancy tree, you'll see right here you literally have the exact same thing in the veterancy tree as you do as the doctrine that they're giving you for that example. And they kind of do it with the berserker, but they give a percentage. And doctrines should not be they should be stat related and not just a time reduction. But as far as a game design setup, so it's just hot doo doo. And a good example of a good doctrine would be the one from the berserker that gives you the it's actually here. Go back to F5. I'm working on it. It's actually this one where you get the increased health by 360, uh, reduced range damage taken by 50%. Kind of like that multi-level doctrine, an epic doctrine, and it really seems that that's part of the system where as you progress through the game, it's easy to get. I shouldn't say it's easy, but it's obtainable to max your level out, turn it elite, and then max out your veterancy line, and then spend. By time you've done that, you spend a considerable amount of time playing through all the play styles. You understand the unit fairly well, and you have a good idea how to use it. And the customization falls within this doctor's realm. And a lot of the YouTubers I watch, this is the second piece of the discussion, is they really misrepresent the unit because they load it down with a bunch of doctrines that are all epic. And I'm running on almost 400 hours of playtime on this game, and I only have two or three epic doctrines, and I use them on some of my main units. And so if I had 5 epic doctrines to burn, I wouldn't burn them on the Shield Maiden. I would burn them on meta units. And so, the doctrines do need a little bit of a rework. They should not match the skills inside the veterancy tree. They should be more like this, to where you get a multi-stat um, or a unique ability, but they need to define what the doctrines are instead of just having this wide swath of whatever. Laziness. It's laziness. They kind of need to define that a little bit. And but yeah, the YouTubers are really misrepresented because they'll get this unit, they'll load it up with all a bunch of purple doctrines, they'll be like, it's amazing, it's the best thing since sliced bread, it's the new meta, and I'll guarantee in 6 months you will not see the Shield Maiden in any TW. And if somebody's saying that, they're a clown. It's going to be cavalry because of the speed. It's going to be those traditional units. People are not going to segue away from it. And if they do have those purple doctrines, they're going to spin them on those cavalry units. Pikemen are your Imperial pikemen are your only exception, and these guys are not a comparable exchange for Imperial pikemen. Unfortunately, it's just not. And I know they're talking about support, but it's not going to be a comparable a swap out unit. And if you let's look at leadership. And here's part of the reason for that logic is that the leadership for an Imperial pikeman, where does it say it at? It's go back. If I go a leadership for Imperial pikemen, they are 240. So that's 100 points. That's 100 points. That's not really worth justifying. The capability is not worth 100 points when the performance is arguably less and taking down cavalry, but marginally better at speed and flanking and mobility. So it's very subjective, and I think people will probably they'll roll a rollout something like maybe something like this, and then they can go whatever they want for their secondary, like maybe a backup pike, and that gets you close to your 700. And you got two pike units, or maybe they'll throw in a range, maybe they'll switch out a ranged, and go kind of something like this, for example. I know the Hussiers are more of a popular cavalry option, but that's the big part of this argument. And so for anybody to say that TW is the new meta for these shield maidens is full of shit. And uh, the doctrines are hot garbage. They really are for the shield maiden. The one for the berserker, that 360 health. I think that'll, with the slash, the combination of the range damage taken reduction, I think that'll be a really good one. I think that's a good. And even this is a great unit too. I've seen this unit perform extremely well for its leadership role. But okay, so we covered the doctrines, we covered the YouTube kind of really misrepresenting, and I think it's because they're content creators and they're just kind of trying to maintain that positive image of the unit, so that way they can continue to participate and kind of get the cheese from the developer. And then I don't remember the third thing anymore, but yeah, that's where I'm at. And it's kind of a holistic look at the unit, and it's fun to play. It's absolutely fun to play, but it's subpar in its performance when you compare it to spear sergeants, or you can really tell that those units have a lot more, and you can tell how players react. If they see spear sergeants, they just don't dive in there and start smashing away. um, and I noticed that there's some hero skills that really really devastate these guys compared to how they devastate other shield units. They're more susceptible to knockdowns versus other units. And and some people were critical on my video, like, you don't know how to play. And that video was really designed for putting the units in a scenario to see how they do against other unit types, and really kind of vetting that out. But as always, the discussion is always good. I'm by no means am I saying my way is the right way, or I'm the one that has the best knowledge. This is my holistic opinion of the unit and where it's at. It definitely has some underlying baked issues that need to be worked out. The mechanics are spot on. The doctrines are garbage. Um, and it's almost like there's a finite little change that needs to take place in the in some kind of small, that first patch is exactly what they need to do again. They need to do something similar to that. The performance is significantly better with what they did with that first patch. I can tell a big difference, but there's some kind of knockdown that takes place, and once they get knocked down, um, it's like it's immediate wipe almost. It's like you lose half your units through the knockdown process, and the health just vanishes. Um, and I'm not saying that they need to. I understand game design, and I understand there needs to be counter. But what I'm doing is I'm doing an apples to apples comparison to, spear sergeants and basically shield units that have a block, and these guys should be on par with the blocking of these guys right here. Where they at? Right here. the Shieldmaidens are kind of renowned for their shield ability and shield doctrine, and they should be on par with a kind of a unit like this. I mean, and technically, if you look at how they are on the tree, this says defense 82. So if we go back to the Shield Maiden and it says defense 120, when you do that side by side comparison between, let's go back to the tree, between this guy right here, your Imperial Spear Guard, this guy will have much better survivability, much better survivability. And that's really what I've been doing is since I went the spear tree, I've been testing these shared shield units as an apples to apples comparison and survivability, and that's where the Shield Maiden is really lacking in that survivability with even though the stats say they have a far better shield ability, when you play them, you'll see that they'll just get vaporized. They'll get vaporized. You get a lot of that corner side attack, which is understandable, because people will try to kind of flank it and peek it away from the side because they've got that little bow. Um, I think that arguably when you put down that defense shield, instead of just getting the 20-second buff, it should just be permanent. It shouldn't just be a 10-second buff or a 20-second buff or whatever it is. Uh, it should be perfect. I mean, permanent. And then when you transition out of it, then, and you do your charge, you get your 10-second buff. I think that would be a more of a realistic because, I've been playing it to where I've been trying to keep the buff going, and I notice as I pick up and move and reset it, a lot of times I end up breaking the ranks and then taking a lot of damage. So it's not worth me backing out of the shield wall or the defense stance to to get the little buff. It's not worth it. So I just a lot of times I'll just end up keeping it in the position so that way I don't risk breaking formation. And so that arguably might fix the unit to where it has the same defensive value or shield value. But if you don't believe me, take this unit, take a spear sergeant, which is not even maxed out. There's more than 10 levels difference, and you'll find that this elite spearman is superior in blocking charges and defensive walls than the Shield Maiden. And same thing with your Iron Cap Spearman. It'll be a superior unit, even though this says this is 120, right? And I guess I should put this one on there. I'm really hurting on doctrines. There's no. Oh, the third thing that drives me nuts. I mean, that's really from the developer aspect. That's just super cheese. I mean, just really effed up. Is that when you do your weeklies and you unlock these doctrines, it's a temporary rental. That shit infuriates me that you get in temporary rentals from doing doing like major quest stuff, and you're getting temporary rentals. That crap drives me nuts. I could see if they were in loot drops, right? Little reward loot drops. I could see that would be okay. That would be okay. But when you're doing your what is it? It's battle pass. When you're doing your battle pass and you go through here and you're like, "Oh, I'm on day 99. I'm on day 99, right?" Or then all right, here we go. I'm on day 90, and then you get a I don't know which one it was, but you're weeks into it. It's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get one," and it's a 2-day rental. You're like, what? That's some bullshit. You ground all the way. You're like, weeks into this grinding, trying to get it right, and they give you a 2-day rental. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. They should not have any rental doctrines on your season pass whatsoever. That is just wrong on so many levels. And anyways, as always, that really covers the three part is the YouTubers really misrepresenting their the capability and functionality of the unit, because what they're not saying is they're not saying that they have because they're part of the content creator program, they're using accounts that are eligible for testing and video making that have all those doctrines. And you can see I don't have those doctrines. And most of the population doesn't have those doctrines. And that's really a misrepresentation of what the unit can do, because if I could do one thing and grind out doctrines, I would do that. So they're loading they're low and they're like, oh, it's amazing, this unit is going to be the next meta, blah blah blah. And it's a lie. At that point it's a straight lie. They just need to do a baseline zero doctrine test against a baseline zero doctrine test, because that's a better representation of the player base, and people can customize their doctrines to what they get, because no one's going to get the same doctrines available to them at any one point in the game. They got to use what they have available. So a baseline test to a baseline test is a much better system. And yeah, and these YouTubers are, like, for the most part, a joke. um, they really are, and they build these elaborate spreadsheets with all these doctrines baked in, and it's like, okay, well, that's fantastic. And then doctrines in general, uh, with the Shieldmaidens, that's you can tell during the end of the development cycle they were tired of it, and they were out of ideas. And and they're both those doctrines for the Shield Maiden. The 5-second reduction on both of those is really pathetic. And what I've seen is with some of the YouTubers, when they because they have all these epic doctrines, they don't use it. They use something else. So I'm spending all this time grinding for this doctrine that I'm not going to use. So shame on Conqueror's Blade. Shame on Conqueror's Blade. But as always, criticism is welcome. And thank you for watching.